The large meeting hall buzzed with sounds from many different alien breathing machines. Ambassador Rebecca Martinez walked slowly to the center table, where important papers waited. Her face looked tired and sad, like someone who had lost a big fight. She put her hand on the glowing scanner that would make the peace deal official between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. All around the huge round room, creatures from 47 different worlds watched her. Some looked happy that the war was ending. Others seemed to feel sorry for the humans. The bug-like hive queens made clicking sounds with their sharp mouths, showing they approved of what was happening. Strange cloud beings called the Nebula Collective changed colors. That meant they were pleased with this kind victory over humanity. Right in front of Rebecca stood the Zephyrian leaders. Their bodies were covered in crystal-like armor that sparkled under the bright lights. Their main leader, War Prime Kethfer, spoke in a deep voice that echoed through the whole chamber. His words made other aliens nod their heads in agreement. "Today, we stop the humans from fighting us," Kethfer announced proudly. "The people of Earth will leave the space areas we both wanted. They will let us guide them and teach them how to be better. This peace treaty will keep everyone safe." Rebecca looked down at the papers and nodded slowly. She had practiced this moment many times to make sure she looked defeated but not completely broken. "The human race accepts what you demand," she said, her voice shaking just a little bit. "We only ask for enough time to move our people out of those areas, like the treaty says." None of the watching aliens could see the tiny electronic device hidden inside Rebecca's diplomatic pin. This small transmitter was sending a secret coded message across 27 light-years of space to a hidden base near the star Proxima Centauri. The message was very short and simple. The fish took the bait. Far away on Earth, buried deep inside the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, Admiral James Patterson sat in a secure command room, watching the peace ceremony on his screens. His old, scarred face showed no emotion as his military officers stood around him. For 6 whole months, Earth's best spies had been secretly listening to Zephyrian radio messages using stolen alien communication equipment. The humans knew something terrible that the aliens thought was still secret. The peace treaty was fake. It was just a trick to buy time, while the Zephyrians built the biggest attack fleet in the history of the galaxy. They planned to wait until humans relaxed, then destroy Earth completely. Colonel Lisa Thompson stood next to Patterson, tapping her fingers nervously on the table that showed glowing star maps. She was one of Earth's smartest military planners, but even she felt worried about what was coming. "How much time do we have before they attack us for real?" she asked. Patterson studied the enemy fleet positions on his displays. Thousands of alien warships were gathering in a distant area of space called the Kepler Nebula, far from where anyone could see them. "Maybe 18 months, possibly 20, if we're very lucky," he answered. "Their main battle fleet is still collecting ships from all over their empire. They believe we are completely beaten and will do anything to avoid more fighting." Standing near the back of the room was Major Daniel Roberts, the youngest person ever to reach such a high rank in Earth's military. At only 32 years old, he had already proven himself to be a brilliant tactical genius who could outsmart much older and more experienced commanders. When he heard Patterson's estimate, he smiled in a way that was both grim and determined. "Then we better make sure we're completely ready to give them the kind of war they're not expecting," Roberts said quietly. The room fell silent as everyone understood what he meant. The Zephyrians thought they were dealing with a broken, desperate species that would accept any terms to avoid destruction. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this exact situation, while the aliens celebrated their supposed victory. Human scientists and engineers were working day and night on secret projects that would change everything. Patterson looked around at his officers and saw the same determination in their eyes. That had helped humanity survive ice ages, world wars, and near-extinction events throughout history. The Zephyrians had made one critical mistake. They assumed that because humans wanted peace, they were weak. They didn't understand that sometimes the most peaceful people were the most dangerous when finally pushed too far. Hidden factories were already building new types of weapons. Secret shipyards were constructing vessels with technology that would surprise the enemy. Intelligence networks were mapping every Zephyrian base and fleet position. Most importantly, humanity was united in a way it had never been before, with every person on Earth working toward the same goal. The peace treaty ceremony continued on the screens, with speeches about cooperation and understanding. But in the depths of the Colorado mountains, the real war was just beginning. And this time, humanity would not be the victims. 8 months had passed since Rebecca Martinez signed the peace papers on that important day. Now, human settlements on distant planets were packing up and leaving, just like the treaty said they had to do, on the farming world called Kepler 4 to be. Governor Michael Chen stood watching as huge transport ships lifted off from New Phoenix, the biggest human city on the planet. The Zephyrian watchers were very happy with what they saw. They counted every ship that left, and wrote reports saying how well the humans were following orders. These alien observers thought they were watching a defeated people running away with their tails between their legs like scared dogs, but the Zephyrians were not looking closely enough at what was really happening. They saw grain ships carrying food supplies away from the planet, but they did not know that hidden inside those grain containers were pieces of powerful weapons that had been taken apart. When they saw medical ships carrying supplies to help sick people, they had no idea that those same ships were secretly moving advanced computer equipment that could spy on enemies from very far away. Most importantly, the Zephyrians thought the people leaving were just ordinary farmers and workers who were scared of the war. They did not realize that mixed in with these refugees were some of Earth's smartest scientists, best engineers, and most skilled soldiers. These important people were not running away at all. They were moving to exactly the right places where they could help win the secret war that was coming, deep under the ground on the asteroid called Ceres. Dr. Jennifer Walsh worked in her hidden laboratory. All around her were floating computer screens that showed where Zephyrian spaceships were positioned throughout the galaxy. Her team of brilliant scientists had done something that everyone said was impossible. They had broken the secret codes that the aliens used to send messages to each other. The key to cracking these codes was understanding that humans think about time in a completely different way than any other creature in the galaxy. While other species saw time as a straight line, humans could think about it in curves and loops and spirals. This different way of thinking let them find weaknesses in the alien math that even the Zephyrians did not know existed. Dr. Walsh turned to face a group of new intelligence officers who had come to learn about her work. The aliens are so proud and sure of themselves that they are making our job easy, she explained with a small smile. Every message they send to each other assumes we are too stupid and primitive to understand it. They talk about their battle plans like we are not even listening. They discuss where their troops are moving, when they will attack, and they even complain about how bad the food tastes on their warships. Captain Robert Taylor had just returned from a very dangerous mission, where he pretended to be a businessman trying to make trade deals with the aliens. He spread out glowing star maps on the meeting table, so everyone could see the information he had gathered. The main enemy fleet is staying in the Kepler Nebula, exactly where we thought it would be, he reported. Admiral, they have 3,000 ships out there. Some of their biggest warships are as large as entire cities. Admiral Patterson looked at the maps carefully, his face showing no emotion, even though the numbers were frightening. Earth's entire military had never fought against anything close to 3,000 enemy ships at one time. What about our own preparations? He asked. Captain Taylor changed the display to show secret human activities throughout the solar system. Our hidden shipyards in the Oort cloud are working at 70% of full capacity. The asteroid mining operations have dug up enough raw materials to build 800 new warships. The manufacturing platforms orbiting Jupiter are making bullets, missiles, and energy weapons 24 hours a day. Tell me about the new technology we have been developing, Patterson requested. Colonel Thompson pressed buttons to show designs for sleek new human spaceships that looked very different from the old Earth vessels. Our engineering teams have taken apart captured Zephyrian equipment and figured out how it works. Then they made it work even better. We have improved their plasma energy systems by 30%. Our new ships will not just be as good as theirs. They will be superior. Patterson nodded slowly as he thought about what this meant. During the border wars 3 years ago, humanity had learned an important lesson that they would never forget. You should never fight an enemy using their favorite methods and their preferred rules. The Zephyrians expected the next war to be like the old wars, with big ships fighting other big ships in open space, following the traditional rules that all galactic civilizations used. What they did not understand was that humans had never been very good at following rules, especially when their survival was at stake. The coming war would be fought in ways that the galaxy had never seen before, using tactics that would shock and confuse every alien species. The Zephyrians thought they knew what humans were capable of, but they were about to learn that they had badly underestimated their enemy. All across the galaxy, alien civilizations watched what they believed was humanity's slow collapse with different feelings in their hearts. On the beautiful crystal world of Altair Prime, an ancient leader named Scholar Prime Veltar stood before his people's ruling council to deliver sad news. Veltar's body was made of living crystal that normally glowed with bright colors, but today it was dim and gray because he felt sorry for the humans. The people of Earth fought with great courage and bravery, he said in his deep, echoing voice, but they simply do not have the advanced technology needed to stop the Zephyrian Empire from taking over their worlds. We must get ready for the day when humanity becomes just another conquered species under alien rule. This same kind of conversation was happening on planets throughout known space. The water-breathing Cetians, who lived in the deep oceans of their homeworld, were already talking with Zephyrian business leaders about new trade deals. They wanted to make sure they would still make money after the humans were defeated. The fierce warrior race, called the Drakmori, spoke with respect about how bravely humans had fought in the border wars. But privately they had already written Earth off as just another species that had tried and failed to resist Zephyrian power. Only one group of beings remained completely silent about what was happening. The mysterious observers were ancient creatures whose minds were spread across the entire galaxy, like an invisible web. They watched everything and calculated possibilities that other species could not even imagine, but they never shared their thoughts with anyone. Far out in the cold darkness of space, Captain Linda Hayes guided her spacecraft through the outer edges of Zephyrian territory. According to the identification signals her ship was broadcasting, she was just another human refugee trying to escape from the coming war. Her ship looked like an ordinary transport vessel carrying scared civilians to safety, but hidden deep in her cargo holds were the most advanced spy equipment and sensors that human science had ever created. These devices could detect enemy movements from incredible distances and record everything the Zephyrians were doing without being noticed. Lieutenant Mark Stevens sat at his sensor station, watching the displays that showed everything happening around their ship. Suddenly, he spotted something important. "Captain, I'm detecting contact at bearing 27 Mark 4, he reported in a quiet voice. It looks like a Zephyrian supply convoy with 12 ships. Linda turned to look at the tactical display. Are they flying in their standard formation? She asked. Yes, ma'am, textbook formation. They're not even trying to hide what they're doing or where they're going. Linda smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a hunter might have when watching prey walk directly into a trap. The Zephyrians were so confident that they had already won the war that they were being incredibly careless. They sent radio messages about their battle plans on frequencies that anyone could listen to. They discussed their military strategies without using any secret codes. They moved their huge fleets through space with the casual arrogance of beings who believed they were naturally superior to every other species in the galaxy. What the Zephyrians did not know was that hundreds of ships like Linda's were scattered throughout their territory, all pretending to be harmless refugee transports, while actually gathering detailed intelligence about enemy capabilities, positions, and future plans. The aliens thought they were hunters, tracking down helpless prey. But they had no idea that they were actually walking into the most complex and elaborate trap in human history. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the final pieces of humanity's secret weapon were being put into place. The project was called Prometheus, named after the ancient Greek titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. This name was perfect because the project represented the very best of human cleverness, determination, and refusal to give up even when facing impossible odds. Dr. Thomas Wilson worked in a high-security command center buried deep beneath the city of Geneva in Switzerland. He looked up from his computer displays with excitement in his eyes. The quantum communication network is now fully operational. He reported to his team. Every spaceship, every space station, every military unit can now talk to each other instantly, no matter how far apart they are in the galaxy. This was revolutionary technology that would change warfare forever. Instead of having to wait for radio signals to travel across space, which could take hours or days, human forces could now coordinate their actions in real time across any distance. Admiral Patterson stood in his command center looking at tactical displays that showed the true scope of what humanity had accomplished during the months of pretending to be defeated. Hidden fleets waited in secret locations throughout the solar system. Weapons platforms disguised as harmless space stations were positioned at key points. Secret factories continued building new ships and weapons around the clock. All of these assets were invisible to Zephyrian sensors, and all were connected through quantum communication into one massive, perfectly coordinated war machine. "How much time do we have before they begin their invasion?" Patterson asked. 3 weeks, sir. Our spies inside their command structure confirm they are putting the finishing touches on their attack plans. Patterson nodded grimly. Then it's time to stop pretending we're beaten. The massive Zephyrian war fleet suddenly appeared at the outer edge of Earth's solar system like a nightmare made real. 3,000 alien warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect military formations that had destroyed dozens of civilizations across the galaxy. Their crystal-like hulls sparkled and gleamed as they charged up energy weapons, powerful enough to crack entire planets in half. Fleet Commander Morgiths stood on the bridge of his enormous flagship, looking at computer screens that showed what appeared to be empty space ahead of his fleet. According to all the intelligence reports his spies had gathered, the remaining human military forces were huddled around Earth, like frightened animals making their final desperate stand. Morgith felt completely confident as he gave his orders. "Begin moving forward. Toward Earth," he commanded his officers. "Keep our ships in standard attack formation. These primitive humans have already proven they cannot fight against us effectively." What the arrogant Zephyrian commander could not see were thousands of human observers hiding throughout the solar system, watching his every move from invisible positions. Captain Susan Parker was in command of one of 50 stealth ships that were coated with special quantum-absorbing materials that made them completely invisible to alien sensors. She and her crew had been waiting patiently for this moment for months. Suddenly, Admiral Patterson's voice came through the secret quantum communication network that connected every human military unit. "All forces, this is Admiral Patterson. Execute Prometheus protocol immediately on my command." What happened next was so fast and shocking that it seemed like magic. The seemingly empty space around the Zephyrian fleet suddenly exploded with human warships appearing out of nowhere. Old mining stations that looked abandoned revealed themselves to be heavily armed fortress platforms, bristling with weapons. Innocent-looking cargo containers opened up and deployed as mobile weapon systems. The Zephyrian battle formation that had worked so perfectly against other alien species suddenly became a deadly trap. Human ships materialized right inside their defensive lines where they were not supposed to be able to go. Captain Brian Mitchell's destroyer squadron appeared directly above Morgeth's flagship like ghosts, becoming solid. Commander Rachel Adams led her fighter squadrons through gaps in the enemy formation that should not have existed according to known laws of physics. The Zephyrian sensor operator stared at his displays in absolute terror as warnings flashed red all around him. Multiple enemy contacts detected. He screamed at his commanders. "They are everywhere. How did they get so close without us seeing them?" Fleet Commander Morgeth looked at his tactical screens and felt fear for the first time. In his long military career, human ships were using technology that should not have been possible for such a young species. They were performing maneuvers that broke every rule the Zephyrians knew about space combat. Quantum torpedoes were somehow passing through energy shields that were supposed to stop everything. Human energy weapons were changing their frequencies faster than Zephyrian defensive systems could adapt to block them. "How can this be happening?" Morgeth demanded from his terrified crew. "This is impossible." His answer came in the form of Admiral Patterson's voice, being broadcast on every communication frequency in the solar system. The human admiral's words reached every Zephyrian ship at the same time. "You thought we were weak and broken," Patterson said calmly. "You thought we were desperate for peace at any cost. But we have been watching you, learning from you, and preparing for this day. The peace treaty was a lie from the beginning, and we knew it all along. The space battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before. It would be studied and talked about by military historians for centuries to come. Human forces fought like a single living creature with thousands of parts, all coordinated through quantum communication networks that let them share information instantly across any distance. When ships were damaged too badly to continue fighting, they would send all their battle data to replacement vessels before deliberately crashing into enemy formations to cause maximum damage. Colonel David Anderson led special marine units that used incredible new technology to board Zephyrian vessels. They could somehow pass through solid metal hull plating, like ghosts walking through walls, appearing suddenly in enemy command centers, before the alien defenders could even realize what was happening. The Zephyrians wore crystal armor that was designed to deflect energy beam weapons, but they discovered too late that it offered no protection against human kinetic projectiles that could change their properties while flying through space. The proud Zephyrian fleet that had entered the solar system, expecting an easy victory, found themselves fighting for their very survival against an enemy they had completely misunderstood. The humans were not the primitive, defeated species the aliens had believed them to be. They were something far more dangerous, a patient, intelligent enemy that had spent months preparing the perfect trap. As Zephyrian ships began exploding throughout the solar system, Morgeth finally understood the terrible truth. His people had not been hunting helpless prey. They had been walking blindly into the jaws of a predator that had been waiting for them all along. The complete destruction of the mighty Zephyrian war fleet sent waves of shock and fear throughout the entire galaxy that went far beyond just the physical damage. On the crystal world of Altair Prime, Scala Prime Veltar sat in his study reading incoming battle reports with something very close to pure terror in his ancient heart. The humans had not simply won the battle. They had shown technological abilities that should have been completely impossible for such a young species to possess. Veltar's crystalline body, which normally glowed with calm blue light, was now flickering, with rapid bursts of red and orange that showed his deep confusion and fear. He turned to his assistant scholars, who were waiting nervously nearby. "We must recalculate every single prediction we have made about human development," he commanded in a shaking voice. "Everything we believed about their limitations and weaknesses was completely wrong." This same scene was happening on dozens of different worlds across the galaxy as alien civilizations tried to understand what this incredible human victory meant for the future. The galactic community was struggling to deal with a fundamental change in the balance of power that affected everyone. The Cetian Trade Federation, who had been eagerly negotiating business deals with the Zephyrians, while expecting humanity to be conquered, immediately called back all their representatives from Zephyrian space. The proud warrior race, called the Drakmore, who had always respected human courage, but thought they were too weak to survive, suddenly began sending formal requests to Earth asking for military training exchanges. They wanted to learn how humans had developed such incredible fighting tactics. In the Great Meeting Hall, where the Galactic Council held their most important sessions, Ambassador Rebecca Martinez stood at the center podium facing hundreds of alien representatives. These were the same beings who had watched her sign the peace treaty 18 months earlier, believing they were witnessing humanity's final surrender. Now they sat in stunned silence, trying to understand how everything had changed so completely. Rebecca looked different now than she had during the treaty signing. Gone was the tired, defeated expression she had worn so convincingly. Her diplomatic mask had finally been removed, revealing the sharp intelligence and determination that had been hidden underneath all along. The peace treaty was indeed a lie, she began, her clear voice carrying easily across the silent chamber. But it was not our lie. It was your lie, built on your assumptions about human weakness and foolishness. You all believed that we would accept being conquered and controlled because we seemed to want peace so desperately. Near the front of the gathering sat War Secondary Kithmal, the highest-ranking Zephyrian military officer to survive the battle. His crystalline body, once bright and proud, was now dull and gray, with the shame of defeat. When he spoke, his voice was filled with barely controlled anger and humiliation. You deceived the entire galaxy, he accused Rebecca. You violated the sacred principles of honest diplomacy that have kept peace between species for thousands of years. Rebecca's smile was cold and sharp, like the edge of a blade. We learned our deception techniques from excellent teachers, she replied. Your own military communications, which we intercepted and decoded over many months of careful preparation, revealed your true intentions to us. Did you really expect us to honor peace agreements that you never had any intention of keeping yourselves? She activated a holographic display that showed intercepted Zephyrian messages discussing their invasion plans. We have recordings of your leaders laughing about how gullible and trusting humans were. We have detailed plans showing how you intended to use the peace treaty as a delay tactic while you built the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. You called us naive for believing in peace, but you were the ones who were truly naive for thinking we would not discover your deception. General Patricia Foster, who had been promoted to head Earth's new Department of Galactic Defense, stepped forward to address the council. She activated another display that showed the incredible scope of human military preparation that had been hidden throughout the solar system. Every withdrawal from our frontier colonies was carefully planned, she explained. Every apparent defeat was actually carefully choreographed theater, while you celebrated what you thought was our collapse and surrender. We were building the largest and most advanced military-industrial complex in the known galaxy. The holographic displays showed hidden shipyards that had been operating in secret research facilities that had been developing new technologies, and manufacturing centers that had been producing weapons and equipment around the clock. Human engineering had not only matched the best alien technology, but had actually improved upon it, creating defensive systems and weapons that combined the greatest innovations from multiple different species. Dr. Kevin Murphy, the head of Earth's newly established Human-Alien Technology Exchange Program, presented proposals that would completely reshape how different species interacted with each other. We are prepared to share our advances in quantum communication technology, stealth systems, and adaptive weapons with any species that approaches us with genuine honesty, he announced. In return, we ask only for true cooperation and partnership, not the false promises that led to this terrible conflict. The mysterious observers, who had remained silent for countless centuries, finally spoke through harmonic vibrations that touched every mind in the chamber. The young species has grown beyond our calculations and predictions. The galaxy will be fundamentally different now. The representatives sat in stunned silence as they realized that humanity had permanently changed their place in the galactic community through patience, intelligence, and careful preparation.